a political streamer cannot answer the question, how do I get involved on a basic level with either one or two suggestions on like, this is what you should do, they should probably not be a political streamer. If you are interested enough in politics to watch YouTube video after YouTube video after YouTube video after Twitch stream after YouTube video after Twitch stream, then god damn it, you can canvas. I want to talk about something, and it's something that I think is kind of important, right? Now, political Twitch for a lot of people isn't that important. And I mean, maybe in the grand scheme of things, it isn't. But it's where many of us call home. Now, I am involved in politics outside of political Twitch. That is true. But for many of you, political Twitch is where you interact with politics. You don't go to your county council meeting and talk about redistricting. That's a big thing for me recently. My district is about to lose one of its county council representatives, the city that I live in, College Park. You guys don't maybe talk about beautification committees or environmental committees, or possibly even engage on national level politics outside of just Twitch. That's a possibility, right? Twitch is a broad platform where I'm sure a decent amount of the gaming community has come in here, and this is where they've learned about politics. Or this commentary space is the only really area they interact with politics. That's fine, okay? I'm not going to judge anyone from coming into politics through Twitch or anywhere else. I came into politics personally, through personal experiences, and then found material online that helped me make those connections. But that's me. Everybody gets into politics or gets involved in politics through a different way. But there's a problem when it comes to political Twitch. And the problem, primarily, is this man. I'm kidding. It's not primarily this man. But it makes for a good thumbnail, doesn't it? But I guess he is somewhat part of the problem, but in more of an overarching systematic problem. And that is to do with the fact that political stuff on Twitch stays on Twitch. Or YouTube. Or TikTok, but mostly online. The same stuff is true about political Twitter or political anything on the internet. Now, this isn't necessarily the fault of the individual content consumer, right? Now, it is true that you can consume content on the internet and that can inspire you to go out and get active. I've seen it happen a million times, and I hope to see it happen a million more times. But what I'm trying to get at is that people will stay in political Twitch. And obviously, you can't get everyone from political Twitch to get involved in local politics, get involved in national level politics, or get involved in any type of IRL politics. You can't force anyone to do anything. Just like you can't force a CNN viewer to go and vote just because they watch some CNN. But I feel that on political Twitch, we haven't really developed any inroads to get our viewers into IRL politics, as in they were on political Twitch, they were a political Twitch viewer, then they took that and then went out and did stuff for real, right? So what I'm trying to get at here isn't necessarily that we need to start developing ties with like Congress people or senators or the president. And to be completely honest, we're not going to do that. Maybe every once in a while we'll have AOC or Jamit Singh, or I believe that's how you pronounce it. I might have really messed up there. Or any of these like politicians. They might come on and play video games and hype up the base and tell them to go vote. But that's really the extent of it. I'm more talking about local politics, and this is where it might get a little boring. But there's nothing stopping us, not from only developing ties or going out and develop ties. We don't even need to do that necessarily, but creating outlines for our viewers to go out and get involved in local politics, right? Now, that sounds complicated, but it really isn't. What I'm talking about is the political streamers on our platform, number one, we'll start going down the list, don't have a lot of experience with politics, which sounds like backward. Like if you're online and you're streaming politics, you should have experience with politics. Well, like it sounds like if you're a commentator on something, then you should have some experience in said thing. But that isn't necessarily the case. Politics is different than the rest of Twitch, because the rest of Twitch, like if you're like a streamer of, I don't know, League of Legends, then you obviously have experience in League of Legends. You're doing it live. We can see you playing that disgusting, repulsive game. Or Call of Duty. If you're a Call of Duty streamer, then you obviously have experience with Call of Duty because you're playing it live. But streaming politics isn't, I am at my local county council meeting and I am telling people the importance of this redistricting that's going on and why we need to stop this because it's going to take away representation. That's not what streaming politics is. Streaming politics is debating people. It is reacting to political videos that you disagree with. It is talking about the news. That's what streaming politics is. That's what makes it different from the rest of political Twitch, where if you are a streamer streaming a genre, that means you most likely have experience about that genre and can talk about the deep, a lot of times, maybe not deep, it depends on the level of streamer, but many times you can talk about the deep, like, niche details of said thing. Like, oh, this is the what is it called for, like, shooters? DP, damage per seconds, DPS. Like, DPS of this gun, it's much better than the DPS of this gun, but this gun's handling is so much better. Like, they can talk about that. Political Twitch, like, the deepness of most of the commentary is, I listened to a lot of other commentary, got opinions from that, and now here's my opinions. There's nothing applicable. Like, if you listen to a streamer talk about a video game, they might give you some stuff that's applicable to you playing the game. Like, this is the best gun. This is the best thing to do. This is the best thing to do there. Or, oh my gosh, like, this is a tactic that I use all the time. You don't really get that in political Twitch. You mostly just get opinions about the world around you, but then no, like, guide on how to engage with the world around you. You're basically got the political equivalent of somebody sitting down in front of you and you tell them, the world is fucked. Anyway, what's for lunch? Like, that's it. That's really where it stops. And I think a lot of this has to do with the fact that the vast majority of political Twitch streamers, Hassan being the most dominant political Twitch streamer out there, doesn't have experience in politics. And this isn't just Hassan. If you go down here, and here's a huge tier list for all of political Twitch, okay? So if we go, let's go start S tier, okay? Like, Aiko, as far as I know, no experience in politics. Cherry really does political drama streams, so not really any experience in politics. Aristocracy, not that I know of. Sam Cedar, possibly. Hassan, not that I know of. Mike from PA does have experience in local politics, as far as I know. I don't know how necessarily good that experience was. I will say it does give him a step above a lot of other commentators. But I also think that well, on a personal level, of course, I disagree with some of his statements and applications. And of course, there's the famous, like, well, I don't stream local politics, etc., because then all my viewership would tank, which is true. John Burke, I mean, not that I know of. I know he's a small business owner. Sprout, no. Basically, if you go through the vast majority of this list, the vast majority of the people here don't have any experience in politics. Unlike any other Twitch streamer doing video games, they do have experience in that game. Now, this is also true for A. Now, this is not true for everyone. Like I said, Mike from PA, he does have some experience. Destiny famously, like, went to Georgia and got people organized, which I thought was great. And I think also probably got Destiny not only the first-hand experience of knowing what it's like to organize an event and the cost that goes into it and how rewarding it could feel to do something like that, even though that was the national level and not local level, and I'm going to get into that later. He also had the wonderful experience of getting screwed in politics out of $8,000 by Doug. Now, I'm going to tell you a story about that. I'm sorry, this video might be actually a little long. I'm going to tell you a story about that specifically. Now, if you guys don't know about Doug was a person who helped Destiny organize the event in Georgia. Now, Doug talked up his experience in politics a lot to Destiny. He did. He did, 100%. He went up and it was like I got this, or I got these possible connects with the Ossoff campaign. I might be able to get you in there, and we could do this, this, and that. And he got paid a decent chunk of change that eventually he did have to give back for organizing the event. But when push came to shove, he didn't actually do that well as an organizer. He was late to a lot of the stuff he had to do. It took them forever to get the lists that are necessary for us to go out into the community and canvass, because it shows you where the registered voters are. There was a lot of problems Destiny ran into. And you want to know why I think he ran into those problems? It's because he didn't have really any political experience. He didn't know the telltale signs of, this person doesn't know anything that he's doing. Like, this guy's clueless, right? Maybe not clueless, but he definitely shouldn't have been in the position he was in, right? He shouldn't be in that position. He didn't have the experience to know that. And I can't blame him. Him wanting to get involved and getting overeager and, like, choosing somebody who didn't have the experience. I, at the time, even noted some of these things. And I made a video, which is still on my YouTube channel, specifically saying, look, Destiny's effort is running into some big problems. Here's a problem here I ran into. Here's a problem here I ran into. I don't know what's going on. And push came to shove when we found out at the end of the day, it was Doug. And personally, you can even see in the background of one of Destiny's videos, this is what I knew. Doug was, I don't want to say grifting. Well, actually, I think that word might actually apply here. But I'll just say, this is what I knew. That Doug wasn't as he seemed when it came to, like, what he should be doing. It was when I was talking to Doug in the background while Destiny was debating some of his viewers, right? IRL. And Doug proposed something to me. And I shit you not, this was his proposal. And people tried to hype him up on this. I don't know why people hyped him up on this. It was a stupid idea. He proposed a video gamers political pack. Basically a political pack made up of video game people. People who play games. Video games. Is that this political pack would advocate the interests of the online netizens and video gamers to politicians. And then politicians would have to go out there and, like, make those inroads. Now, not only did he propose that, now, it's not impossible that you could make that work. Somebody just said, well, the NRA has a thing. I think the NRA is a lot more politically charged and has a lot more cultural backing than the video game lobby. And let me just say, if there was a video game lobby in this country, it would most likely end up being video game companies trying to stop unionization of their companies. It would be like Blizzard being like, hey, yo, look, let us do our sexual harassment. Leave us alone, right? That's what it would most likely actually end up being. It wouldn't be like this woke, cool, badass, like, video gamers rising up to seize the means of the loot boxes, okay? That's what you would most likely actually get, right? And so that was the first thing. Also, the NRA, as somebody just brought up in chat, much more uniform when it comes to politics than video games. Video games is super broad. But here was the kicker. This is what I knew. It was like, dude, this guy has no clue what he's saying. He proposed that Destiny would be the head of the political pack. Destiny, a person with no experience really in politics, and with even less experience in a political pack. And I was sitting there as somebody who is a political consultant for a political pack, 21st Century Democrats. Now, I'm not an expert on political packs. I work for a political pack, right? That doesn't make me an expert, but it does mean that I have more experience with the political pack than Destiny does. And I'm sitting there thinking of how much turnover the management in political packs that I've seen have had, and the management problems, and the work that has to be made, and establishing connections with politicians. And you'll hire people for the political pack, and many times due in part to the connections they have. And then the head of this political pack is Destiny. Not only somebody with zero experience, but somebody with zero connections. And on top of everything else, a controversial figure, to say the least. And so if you're talking about a group of people as politically diverse as gamers, and you're going to choose this politically controversial figure to be the head. No, this was a terrible idea. And I even turned to Destiny. I said, this is a terrible idea. And he nodded. He acknowledged it was a terrible idea. But for some reason, that didn't launch any red flags. And it was only till $8,000 poorer later down the road when it was found out that maybe Doug wasn't doing exactly what he was saying to do. Also, Doug didn't end up loading off the jobs he was supposed to do that he was being paid to do to other people for like zero pay or very little pay. So he was taking the most amount of money and maybe giving like a certain percentage of that to somebody else for them to do it. So he was basically functioning as a political middleman in many of these instances. And so why do I hyper-focus on this story? Well, I'm hyper-focusing on this story in particular because it was an experience I had that showed what the political novice novice, I think that might be the word, the political limitations of the people in our community can lead to. It can lead to people getting scammed. It could lead to people who want to jump into real politics getting screwed over. It could lead to mismanagement. And it can lead to misconceptions about what it takes to organize politically. Now, I do genuinely believe that if Destiny might have taken more time on a personal level to go out there and learn the ins and outs of some local politics stuff, a lot of this stuff might have sent up some red flags. You know, maybe if he volunteered for a few campaigns, spent some time on a local city board or something, that this thing could have set up some red flags when he would have saw Doug and when he organized this. Not to mention, he could have gotten connections with people who have, you know, enough experience to actually manage the effort in Georgia. And then, not only could it have meant less money wasted, but it would also, on top of that, would have meant, hey, our mission in Georgia would have been more effective. And he even said, Destiny even admitted, our stuff in Georgia could have been probably much more effective if it wasn't for the Doug stuff. But I will also bring up the fact that still tens of thousands of people knocked on doors. Well, it was tens of thousands of doors were knocked, which is still very important and very significant considering how close the race was. So I still want to give him credit for going out there, for trying and having a real impact. But that personal experience could have helped him. And the thing is, the thing that Destiny did isn't even necessarily what I want political Twitch to even be doing right now. There's only a few figures in political Twitch that I could conceive that could do this type of stuff. Destiny being one of them, of course. Bosch being another one. And of course, the big boy, Hassan. I don't think anyone else on political Twitch has the influence to actually do this. And so there's only 3 figures that could do this. But, and here's the kicker, everyone could benefit from getting that experience and getting involved on the local level. And it doesn't have to be a lot. It could be some pretty basic stuff. And so here is something that I believe that every political Twitch streamer should be able to do. If somebody and this is my litmus test. This is my actual litmus test for if I think you're a serious political streamer or you're just doing this for fun, right? And you just don't give a fuck. Here it is. Is anybody curious what it is? Can anybody guess in chat? Can I get some guesses? What do you guys think it is? Guess. You can tell your viewers how to get involved. I know a lot of people will say name your local reps. That's part of it, because that's part of the way you can tell people how to get involved. But you got to tell them how to get involved. It's really that simple. If someone right now asks me, Dylan, how do you get involved in local politics? I'd be like, well, there's a few ways you get involved. And this is my breakdown personally. Number 1, find out who your local representatives are. Who's your city council people? Mine? I know mine. Kate Kennedy and Fazul Kabir. Who's my mayor? Patrick Wohan. I manage his campaign. Who's my delegates? My delegates are Mary Lehman, Ben Barnes, and Pena Melaniuk. Pena Melaniuk, wonderful person. Helped me get ties with some local healthcare worker labor unions. I interned there. It was a wonderful time. Who's my congressperson? Oh, well, that's Steny Hoyer. Senator Ben Cardin. President, Joe Biden. I can go all the way up. Governor, Larry Hogan. I can go all the way up. Oh, state senator, Rosa Pep. Former ambassador to Romania, by the way. So, you don't need to know all of that. Those are a lot of names, okay? And I doubt most of you in chat right now, even though I do think my community are more involved in local level than most people, you don't need to know all those names. I do hope eventually you know all of your representatives. If you're so smart, tell me who my local representatives are. George. It's George. There you go. But I do think you can start somewhere. And starting would be city. Now, not everybody has city. You might have to start at county, whatever municipality is local with you. And it might not be just one representative. It might be two. It depends on the district. Depends on the type of city you have. You might have city councilmen at large as well. And also mayor. I think these are some of the basic names you should know right off the bat going in there doing some research. You just look up the city you live in or the county you live in, and then you look up your representatives. A lot of times there are specific websites where you can enter in your address and you get your state delegates or state representatives, state senators, you get your local city council people, you get your mayor, you get your council people at large, you get all that information and they'll serve it to you on a silver platter. You do it right now. If I went to do it right now, I could get all that information for me. Because I know I live in the 21st district in Maryland. That's the first thing you can do. Why do you do this? So, if you have an issue that you care about in your city, these are the people, before anything else, I think you should contact. These are people you should know who they are, so if you've got a problem, you know who to approach. And here's another thing. If you like a city council person, if you do some research and you're like, oh, this person actually seems cool, or hey, this person has ties to something that I want to get involved in, it's usually not that difficult to find their email. Sometimes you can find their personal email. Other times you can find their government email. Sometimes they'll actually post a phone number, either a city phone number, many times their personal phone number. A lot of times you can find their Facebooks publicly available. Sometimes Twitters, but that's a lot less likely. So if you're a Twitter head, I'm sorry, you're most likely going to have to leave Twitter to do this, okay? That's one of the first things you could do. And you can get involved in their local campaigns. You can get involved in local initiatives. Honestly, unironically, just emailing them and saying, hey, I want to get involved in local politics, but I don't know where to start, or I don't know the local stuff going on right now. What do you know? That, it seems like super open. You might feel stupid, like, oh my God, I feel so fucking stupid. Emailing this person saying, hey, I'm stupid. How do I do politic? Where do I go? That's fine. City elections have god-awful turnout rates. Not even half the people in my city vote. What is it, like 10 to 20% of the people in my city vote in city elections? We had a city election over the past weekend. Most of the people in our city probably don't even know it happened. When a national election happens, even if you don't vote, you know that shit happened. Most of the people in my city probably don't even know that election happened. And even less know where you're supposed to go to vote, or how to vote by absentee ballot, or any of that information. So you going out and saying, I want to get involved, they're going to love that. Now be careful, of course, because your city council representative are probably going to throw you at initiatives that they care about. So if you live in like a conservative area, they might say, hey, here's a local Republican the Republican club or something like that. So if you're a Democrat, got to be wary of that type of stuff. But there's the first thing you can do. Here's the second thing you can do. And this is super basic and a lot of you are going to groan, but this is important. This is my city's newspaper. It has 9,000 in circulation. By the way, for people who live in my city, the few of you that do, be sure to read the edition that's going to be released on December 1st, because I'm going to be doing a little thing in this, right? Anyway, this right here is actually a newer newspaper. It actually was first released last year, which I think just shows how much local news has decayed, but has been extremely helpful. I remember talking to my mayor a while ago, being like, hey, how do I get involved? Like, where do I get news on like city politics or city stuff? And he like directed me like towards a blog, and he had a mayoral newsletter. It was like, okay, well, I'm thinking like a website. Like, I'm thinking like a formal news website. We didn't have that. This is the first glimpse we can actually have that in our city. The other example was the Diamondback, which was a college newspaper, which I wanted something more centered on residents. So going into this, and this is how you can learn just the basics of like pop problems in your city. And I know what you're thinking, like, oh my God, learning all the ins and outs of the city is going to take time. It is, but you will be unbelievably surprised how just reading one edition of a local newspaper actually informs you about issues in your city. And there's also something magical, something actually magical about reading one of these and they say a location that you recognize. Oh wait, I know that. I passed that every day as I went to middle school. Or, oh my gosh, that's next to where my wife or husband works. Because I'm assuming you guys all eat chicken nuggies and stay in your home all day to watch my stream, which I appreciate that you all quit your jobs to watch me stream and are taking checks from the government just to sub. I appreciate that. But this is unironically super important. And I think local news is generally important, but that's a whole other issue that we're going to talk about. Okay? So here's the next thing I'll talk about when I talks about getting involved in politics. And I'm sending you on the local level. I know a lot of you in chat right now thinking, okay, but I want involved in congressional elections. I'm going to get involved in senatorial elections. And you can do that. But unironically, I don't propose you start there. I think you work your way up to it. I think that's the best thing you can do is work your way up to it. Because the experience you learn along the way is going to help you when you get there so you can make a splash once you're working on the congressional level. Once you're working on the senatorial level. Once you're working possibly on the presidential level and organizing and doing stuff. And right now we're just talking about elections, right? We'll get into maybe some other stuff in a second. But first I want to go to the next thing. Somebody keeps bringing this up in chat, and they're 100% right. Democratic clubs. Now, this is different for any Republicans in my community, right? Because I do know I have people in my community that disagree with me and are not Democrats. Democratic clubs are unironically, like, even if you don't like the Democratic Party, they will tell you, like, a lot of the ins and outs of the local politics. And not only will that help you develop ties to people who are going to need help down the line or need help right now, and they can direct you at local issues, but they'll a lot of times give you the skills necessary to work. They'll tell you, okay, this is how you canvass, right? Or, hey, we need people to staff the local polling stations. We can give you that experience and get you certified to do that, right? We can make it. This is something that's really useful, and I think, and this is something I suggest everybody in my community should try to start doing, even though it is tough and grueling work. Voter registration, getting you registered so you can go, not only getting you registered to vote, but getting you registered and ready to register other people to vote, door by door. I've done that before, man. That stuff is grueling. Going door by door, trying to register people to vote. It is a tough time, but and I would also just throw it out there. Don't wait till election season to do it. Do it in like years like this, 2021, because campaigns are going to concentrate on people who are already registered to vote, because concentrating on people who are not registered to vote is going to get them so little like results that those resources are better spent for campaigns on the people already registered. So you can do it during campaign season. It's always a good thing to get people registered to vote, but in between campaign years, best time to go do that. And unironically, you can just Google it right now and probably fill out the information necessary, literally right now, to get you ready to register people to vote. So there's another thing you can do. Here's something that I did, which really helped me. Local boards. A lot of cities will have boards which you can sit on. Some of these are elected in some communities. Some of them are appointed in other times. And there'll be boards like boards on elder issues, boards on environmental issues. I'm on an environmental board for my city, and I'm also the liaison to a local tree and landscape board, which means I help control a lot of the communication between these two boards, and that's helping us deal with the fact that our city is continually losing green space. From 2009, we had 44% of our city was covered by green space. Then it was, I believe, 2015, it was like 40%. And then 2018, it was like 38%. So right now, it should be like maybe around like 35 or 36, which is bad. And one of my biggest issues is trying to not only stop the loss of green space, but replace it. And so that board was perfect for me. And having talked to many of the politicians in the city before, when the people who ultimately made those appointments were people who I interacted with and showed them my interest in environmental politics, they appointed me to the board. And it has helped me get not only more knowledge on the issues of environmental issues in the city, but has allowed me to directly contribute to our city's environmental legislation. Like, for example, I got to write a letter to the city council. Well, I got to vote for, and I really championed us writing a letter to the city council endorsing an environmental bill of rights, which I know is something that a lot of you in my community particularly care about. So the local boards is something that you can also throw yourself at. And let me tell you, there is almost always, and I mean this across the board, almost always a board in your city that has a vacant spot. Now, that doesn't mean you'll necessarily get it, because a lot of times those vacant spots are from other districts and they have like mandatory like amounts of people that need to fill those. But there's another place you can get started. Now, I'm just talking about the electoral side. Now, we could talk about the direct action side on how the local charities in your community and looking into those. One of the things you can do, of course, is message your city councilman. Say, what local charities during COVID can I help out with? You can, for example, I worked with Prince George's County Changemakers to actually go out into our community and do pop-up vaccination sites to get people vaccinated. Vaccination sites are something where you can go help out. Food drives are, of course, a classic way you can go help people out. Meals on Wheels is another place you can go. There's a lot of places in your community where you can go out and help directly. There's a lot of like tenant initiatives that always need organizing. Okay, so I think you guys get the idea of what I'm getting at. That was a lengthy answer. And that's probably more detailed than you're going to get from most people on this platform in particular. So I hope I didn't bore too many of you to death, even though I know it's kind of boring. But it's important. What was it that Vosh said? Politics is dumb but very important. Well, for me, it's politics is boring but very important. So I don't need everyone on political Twitch to give a lengthy, in-depth answer like that. Because that was a lengthy, in-depth answer, right? But that stuff about finding out who your local city council representative and emailing them, that's basic. The stuff about boards in your community, I also think that's basic. And these are things that I think we should hold people to. So if you ask somebody, go ask a streamer, how do I get involved in politics? And they can't answer in either any of the ways I propose, or even maybe possibly a better way that I didn't think of yet. I think that's a problem. Because not only does that mean that there is an avenue where that person could be directing people to get involved in their local community, get involved in politics, where I think starting locally is where you're actually going to build the activists of the future who are going to do the best work, and the politicians of the future. I know a lot of us have gotten this idea in our head of like, well, I like the idea that somebody was like a barkeep. They were like, cleaning off the bar, and then one day it was too much, and then they run for office. That's a great story, and when it happens, it's great, but it's also not realistic in the majority of circumstances, and I think the better option is to start local, go to city, go to county, go to state, go to Congress, a path like that, right? That's much more plausible and also gives that person experience that allows them to adjust easier into Congress and then sponsor legislation more effectively. It also allows them to build ties that are going to help them later on, right? Like when they get to Congress, right? Also, like, another organization would be, even though somebody in chat just said not do it, DSA is an organization that does get involved in a lot of local stuff. I know Metro DSA, for example, is pretty involved in local stuff. Definitely around tenants. But the DSA chapters are different. In some cities and counties, it's banger. In other cities and counties, it is like a one-legged horse in roller skates on the ice rink. Right? Just a complete mess. It depends on the county and city. Metro DSA, I've always thought was quite good. Anyway, so what I'm basically proposing is that if a political streamer cannot answer the question, how do I get involved on a basic level, with either one or two suggestions on like, this is what you should do, they should probably not be a political streamer. And I don't think anyone should take their opinions on basically anything politically seriously. Because not only are they talking with zero experience, They're talking into a void that produces nothing. Because they're having people they're grabbing their attention politically. Like, look at the politics. Isn't this important? Then everybody's like, yes, it is important. And they're like, great. So what's for lunch? Nothing happens. No change occurs. If you are interested enough in politics to watch YouTube video after YouTube video, after YouTube video, after Twitch stream, after YouTube video, after Twitch stream, then god damn it, you can canvass. God damn it, you can go out there and go on your local board. God damn it, you can get involved in county politics. If you're able to waste enough time learning about political Twitch drama on top of your normal political Twitch content and watch PragerU video reaction after commentary after 20 debates about people you will never probably like watch again as random callers come in, then you can sit down for 5 minutes and email your city representative. For 5 minutes and Google who your representatives are. You can do that. And I swear to you, it might take some work, but it is so fulfilling. I cannot describe to you how amazing of a feeling it is to actually change something in your city. The first time I really changed something in my city was when I was blocked from running in city politics. There was this weird, like, little loophole where if you're 18, you're legally allowed to run in the city of College Park, but you have to be registered 1 year before election day. So that means I would have had to been registered at the age of 17. But like basically everyone else, I got registered at the age of 18. Like it was like 5 or 6 months before the election. That's pretty silly. And the reason they had it was because they wanted to make sure that the people running in the city were people who actually, lived in the city. And so it was there to basically prove that you live in the city. But I had lived in the city longer than basically everyone on the city council. Yet they were blocking me from running because they couldn't confirm that I lived in the city. So what did I do? I got a bunch of local youth activists from across the state to drive in and talk about the importance of changing the city constitution to make it easier for young people to run in the city. We got endorsements from multiple Democratic clubs and colleges across the state. From youth activists. We had youth activists from across the state come in and speak. Hey, I remember the campaign manager for Michaela Wilkes, Dash, even spoke in favor of it. My old friend Jake Burdett spoke in favor of it. My ex even was there. And the thing is, the constitution of the city changed. You can now provide other means to prove that you live within the city of College Park, making it easier, not only for me to run, because by the time the next election came, the issue would have been resolved anyway. But every youth activist that came after me, and that was an amazing feeling on one piece, because I think everyone wants to have some sort of long-lasting impact on the world around them. So that was pretty cool. And everybody is fearful that their impact on this world eventually will go away, and then after they die, everybody will forget about them. And this was one way of me preserving a small little impact on this little blue dot in the middle of space. And the second thing was I actually changed something for the better. And it worked. We actually did it. And it's not in some faraway place. I didn't donate $50 to a charity halfway across the world where I'm not actually going to see any of that change happen or confirm it wasn't taken by some charity money-grubbing asshole who has 90% overhead. I saw it happen in front of my eyes. And that was a beautiful feeling. It almost feels like that high's never gone away, And so that's why I want everybody to get involved locally before even touching the national politics. If you want to stay in tune to national politics, know how to vote and sign petitions, all that, that's fine. But I was saying if you want to get involved, and I think you should, definitely if you can take enough time to watch my stuff, then I think the local stuff is the way to go. And my standard for taking anyone on this platform seriously moving forward is going to be Can they answer that question? How do you get involved? And what level are they involved in their local level? Because if you've got the time to tell everybody else what to believe, if you got the time to hit stream and stream for endless hours a day on your Twitch channel, then you have the time to know who your representative is and know how to get involved, and to get involved yourself.